guys, so today I'm going to review an application called Circle, which is essentially a local network social media mobile application. So in short, what you can do on Circle is post local news and local events and check out different news. For example, down here, we can see different news and different events that are going on in a selected city. So my selected city is Ottawa. So I'm going to review this application in light of the user experience principles. I'm going to go over 4 of them, which I think are the most valuable and important for this application. Those 4 principles are consistency, forgiveness, perceived stability, and aesthetic integrity. And then I'll go over a bit of the design patterns as well. So let's jump right in and discuss a little bit of consistency. So is Circle consistent with the existing standards in the industry, and especially the Apple standards, since I'm using this application on an iPad? I think it is. For example, the little hamburger button on the upper left side of the screen usually indicates a scroll down menu. So I'm going to go ahead and click it and see what happens. A scroll down menu just appears. Consistency is also about the different icons that are used in the application and whether or not they're consistent with other mobile applications here on the iPad. And I think they are. The little home button is a little location button, which is used a lot in different applications. It's usually a little location point or a little house. So I think people understand that this means home. The little profile is a little person, which is heavily used across the mobile industry. And finally, the email button is a little letter, which is also an icon that is very much used in this industry. Consistency is also about people's expectations. So you have to be able to navigate on the app using your expectations. So I think the only thing I'd have to say about people's expectations in this mobile application is the little speaker up here on the right hand side, which means publish, ask, or share some content on the application. In other social media applications such as Facebook or Twitter, sharing new information is represented by a little piece of paper and a pen. So this is new for users here to have to deal with a little speaker. However, Circle does a pretty good job at explaining things. Down here, you can see a little speaker and a little box that says post, ask, or share. So Circle actually explains what this icon means, and it has to do with feedback and communication as well as consistency. So even though the little speaker is a little icon that most users probably have never seen, or at least haven't seen very often on social media applications, Circle does a good job at explaining what it is. So I think to wrap up consistency, Circle is very consistent with other applications and within itself as well. So let's move on to forgiveness. So forgiveness is all about helping the user when he or she does something wrong. It's also about helping them navigate on the app without really thinking too hard. There's always an option in Circle to go back. So if, for example, if I decide to go to the Ottawa Sun's profile over here, there's always a big white arrow on the left-hand side that's going to help users go back to where they want to be. So if they've made a mistake right here and they didn't want to see the Ottawa Sun's profile, they can always go back, clicking the white arrow. Forgiveness also has to do with informing the user when he or she has done something wrong, or if he or she is trying to use a tool that is not usable in the application. Circle is really good at giving feedback when something goes wrong. For example, again, if I go to the CBC AutoWolfe profile over here and I want to send them a message, Circle informs me that my message could not be sent. I cannot send a message because even though CBC AutoWolfe is in my circle, I am not in their circle. So they inform me that CBC can see my publications and comments, but I cannot send them a message because I am not in their circle and I need to wait to be in their circle to be able to send them a message. So this is pretty cool, and it really helps users understand what they've been doing wrong and how things can be fixed. So I think that's about it in terms of forgiveness. I'm going to move on to the next principle, which is perceived stability. So perceived stability is all about keeping things stable within the app and from one login to the next. Circle uses a lot of colors and transparency to recreate stability. For example, over here you can see newest and popular. Whatever is graded out is what is not selected, and whatever is selected is colored and underlined. Same with here. If I want to publish something, it's in white. If I want to ask something, it's in white. And if I want to share something, it's in white. So yeah, I think Circle uses a lot of colors when it comes to perceived stability. The only thing that people might argue in terms of perceived stability for Circle application is the background picture. If I log out of the application and log back in, it's loading right now, the background picture and all the colors are going to change. So this can be a little frustrating and to some users seem as something that's unstable, but I personally think it's a great feature and it's actually really dynamic. Another thing is all the functionalities within the app remain exactly the same. If I go to newest, it's still going to be colored and underlined. If I go back to popular, it's still going to be colored and underlined. So the functionalities stay exactly the same. So more than unstable, I'd consider it as a cool feature. And I think most people would, maybe first-time users or inexperienced users would think of it as an unstable feature. Finally, the last principle I'm going to discuss is aesthetic integrity. And I think there's no doubt in saying that Circle is a really, really beautifully designed application. They made a huge effort in using animation. For example, if I scroll down, the post, ask, or share is going to become auto right here. So it's really subtle animation, but it makes a huge difference. The other thing is they use, like I discussed in perceived stability, they use a lot of transparency in the upper part of the page. And the more you scroll down, the more you can see opaque colors, white and opaque colors to select what you want to select. There isn't a mass of buttons either on the application. There's a lot of white space, as you can notice. And there's only very few things you can do from the first login. When you log in, the only two things you can do are read the news down here and post, share, or ask something, which are essentially the two things that Circle wants the user to do. There are a lot more functionalities, but aesthetic integrity has to do with bare bone application that goes to the essential things first and that remains simple. And I think Circle has done a really good job at keeping things simple. Finally, I'm just going to discuss a little bit of the design patterns. I think Circle is a transient app, which means that users are not going to spend too many hours on the app. It's not like a game, for example, and all the information needs to be clear and visible from the start. Control should be presented clearly, and I think Circle does a great job at doing that. The first thing you can see, as I've discussed earlier, is post, ask, or share, and the current news postings, which are the two core options in Circle. So I think that's about it for Circle. I think Circle is all about interacting and not showing the user how to do things. I think it's a great app to experience, look around yourself and figure things out yourself. I use it quite a lot, and I would actually recommend it to a lot of people. There's very few inconsistencies. I tried to point out the few that I've noticed, but all in all, I think it's a really great interface and very intuitive for users. That's about it for today. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.